Okay, so while this loads, I can start while this loads up. Oh, there you go.
You're good.
Might actually let me load in. Am I allowed to share my screen?
Yeah, yeah. Should be able to.
Okay, awesome. All right. Can you guys see this?
Yep,
Yeah.
yep.
Awesome. All right, I'm gonna turn this video off so you guys can hear me a little better. But let's. All right, so pitching, how to pitch. This is by far the most important question that I've ever been asked, especially by first-time fans.
Wait. Hey, I think your audio cut off. Wait. How about what if like we all just turn off their camera for now? Maybe that'll be better.
All right, let's try that.
All right, let's try this out.
You hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
We're just
So,
turning off our camera so that like maybe that'll be better.
okay. I changed my audio source, so I'm hoping that helps. Okay. Am I good?
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. So, learning how to pitch is obviously very, very important. It can make or break a deal. It can make or break, your success within a startup. And most importantly, it does. Can you hear me?
I think you cut out again.
Oh, no, this is great. Okay, is that better?
Yeah.
Okay. So, obviously pitching is very, very important, right? And it is usually the most essential part of any sort of conference that you go to, any sort of meeting you go to, especially if you are lucky enough to get yourself in front of a VC, or even more realistically, if you are part of a pitch competition, which is what's going to happen at the end of this cohort, right? At the end of this competition, you guys all have demo day. Now, how do you go about demo day in the most effective manner? Get your idea across, but most importantly, get interest. Not only gauge interest, but also find people that want to invest in you. So hopefully we can, teach you a thing or two. Oh, come on. All right, so usually at the start of most of my pitches, I have some sort of quote by some really, really famous person. And I think that, you may not have the intelligence or expertise, but someone out there in your field is a great expert. And by having a quote and starting off with a quote, you can usually build up your credibility. So if in my case, I would have probably had a quote by, let's say, some famous entrepreneur or some famous, Bill Gates has a great quote about learning how to speak properly. I could have put something like that, or Steve Jobs quote, or even if I wanted to be satirical, I could have put in Elon Musk's quote about being a really bad public speaker and how he had to struggle growing up and trying to learn how to properly speak and pitch his ideas and present them in a way where he was taken very seriously. So what are the basics of public speaking? First, public speaking is great, right? You have a lot of topics to cover. There's lots of different ways to do it. But when you pitch an idea, specifically a business idea, there are a few things that need to be kept in mind. First, you need to understand what your time restraints are. Secondly, you need to know your audience. Number three, you need to decide on what your end mission is. And finally, you need to know what your big ask is. So I just threw a lot at you, so let me break this down. Understand your time restraint. How you would pitch, let's say, a 60-second elevator pitch is drastically different than how you would do a 10-minute elongated pitch. Not only your style, but your mannerism is going to be very different. And the amount and content that you will cover will differ drastically. Now, in a quick 60-second elevator pitch, you are going to just hit all the main points. You're going to be like, hey, this is my market. This is the issue. This is how much money I'm making. All right. And this is how we're going to solve it. 4 things, simple, quick, and easy. Now, if you have 10 minutes on the clock, this is when you bring out the stories. All right. This is where you're going to be like, hey, this is John. Meet John. John is a construction worker from Florida. He works out in this scorching heat, blah, 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 blah. You're going to explain it in a way that kind of shows and encapsulates your main user. So if this is a construction worker, right, you're targeting construction workers like my company does, you will explain and you will help the whatever the user or the judge or a VC basically understand who is that ideal user, who is on the other end of the paycheck, right? So that's understanding time restraints is your biggest thing. A big tip when you are pitching, make sure during your practice, you are 15 to 20 seconds below your timer. Now, the reason for this is many things, especially if you're doing a live pitch, you will stumble. You will forget things, you will ramble on little topics, and you are way safer to be, let's say, 5 seconds below the time than to screw up and then, get cut off, because you will get cut off. Whether you compete at Techstars pitch competition or you have some, like, you're lucky enough to compete for Math Challenge or Techstar or Y Combinator, you will get cut off, and you're way better and safer to just pitch a little less time, right? So let's say 1:50 instead of go over the 2-minute point, right? Secondly, know your audience. If I was pitching in front of my friends versus in front of a room full of VCs, that is 2 drastically different audiences. Their needs are different. Their knowledge levels are different. Now, I cannot tell you how important this is, especially if you're a deep tech company. If I have a room full of scientists and you go on and on about, oh, can you guys hear me? Hello?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. The thing cut off for my end and I was like, oh no. Okay. So if you guys are in a deep tech company, right, you can go on and on to a room full of scientists about, oh, this is my AI, this is how it works, it's like I'm using machine learning, and they will get everything. But if you go into a room full of, let's say, angel investor VCs, where yes, they invest in the field, but they may not be, that in detailed about your field, you will bore them. 100% you will lose them, and that is going to be the end of your pitch. The second you bore your audience, it's over. You can be the smartest, most qualified human being, and they will realize the fact that you are very smart, with your inability to break down the science and manage it, easily understood, will be the end of your situation. The best way that I like to say it, especially if you're a science or technology company, have your 5-year-old cousin or sibling sit down and explain it to them. If they can't understand it, you're not able to pitch it in a correct way. Or have a friend who's never heard your idea try to present it in front of them. If they can't understand it, you need to go back to drawing board. It's not about the complexity of the words you use or how fancy you can embellish it or, what kind of like big vocabulary words you use. Sounds super smart. It's literally about how simply and quickly you can get your idea out. Let me give you a quick example. Like back in the day for my current company, right? The way I would explain is like, oh, we are human performance optimization gear and we do this and this and this. Now all I say is we cure heat injuries in 2 ways, right? And I list the 2 ways. You know how simplified that is? Like, this is what I do. This is how it does it. That's it. Do not, I pray and beg to God, please, please, please do not use any trigger words. Do not throw in machine learning if your device does not use machine learning. Do not try to use any like hot words of the industry because investors will call you out on it. If your tech is simple, literally say it's simple technology, right? Investors are way more likely to be like, hey, this person was able to solve this complex problem using a very simple technology than to have the super overly complicated technology that no one knows how to use. You can't explain it. your audience or your investors don't understand. It just complicates a lot more than needs to be done. All right, number 3, deciding on your end mission. What do you want from this? Like, what is the end goal, right? Where do you want to get that, investor to grow interest in you and possibly connect with them over email later? Do you want to win first place, right? What is the big thing? How are you taking this pitch, right? And how are you forming it around the idea that you want? Now, this can be very simple. If I am trying to do a little more customer discovery while I'm doing the pitch, I will literally phrase it in a way that makes people ask questions so I can practice my customer discovery stuff, right? Or if I'm like, hey, I'm really weak on my tech. I need to understand my tech a little better, right? I will literally I will talk more about my technology, see if anyone has any problems with it, see if it logically makes sense to people. You need to know what you want to get out of each pitch. And most likely, like for the demo day that you guys have coming up, some of the judges are highly, highly technical, right? So if you want to know how good your tech is, I would literally just pitch the tech and be a more technical, pitch itself. Now, lastly, know your ask. That is very important. At the end of every single pitch, have an ask. Now, this can be like, hey, today we're asking $10,000, right? To build out our MVP. That is a beautiful ask. You say exactly what you want, which most likely is the prize money. And then you're saying what exactly you are going to use it for. That is a very important part. A judge, especially when you're doing pitch competitions, wants to know exactly what you are using it for. And golden ticket, if you're able to say by when. Hey, we need $10,000 to develop our MVP so we can do our launch in the next 4 months, right? Awesome. Now you have a timeline. It's basically a SMART goal, right? You have a timeline, you know exactly when you want it, how much you need to get to that goal. And it shows that you have done the planning. So if you do win, you're not going to waste the money. Now, if you are lucky enough to present at or pitch at an accelerator competition, your goal would be like, hey, we would love to be a part of this program. Mass Challenge will provide us with this resource. Techstars is going to provide us with this resource. And that's why our company needs this, right? So know your ask and end every single pitch with that ask. All right. First impressions. So I'm sure all of you guys know, if anyone has ever gone on a date, that first impressions matter a lot. Before anyone's gets to know you, they're going to judge you based on the small things you say, right? As well as how you look. Unfortunately, I've seen many people make a lot of judgments based on how individuals look when they pitch. And a lot of that is subconscious. No one tries to go in without prejudice, but it's important to look nice. And that goes with Zoom etiquette, right? If you're pitching on Zoom, make sure your shirt's not very loud. Make sure you look good. Make sure you look clean. Make sure your background looks good. Now, if you're pitching in person, and if you have a partner especially, what I like to do is, and most, just to give you a little background, most of the pitches recently that I've done, we have won. So what me and my co-founder like to do is we subtly color coordinate, right? This just gives an overall very clean aesthetic to us. And it shows that we have put in that little bit of extra effort. So that's how you're going to set the mood. You are going to make sure that your clothes are clean, you look clean, you smell good, basic stuff. If you're not sure, get your mom or dad on the phone, right? And be like, how do I look? Do I look okay? Do I smell all right? If they're good, then you're probably okay. Secondly, deliver with confidence. It goes such a long way. All the confidence you see right now, this was 100% built from the ground up, baby. It is not natural. It took a lot of effort to learn how to talk. It took a lot of effort to learn how to talk without saying or or but. And I'll be honest, there are times where it slips out. It's human nature. But the important thing is, rather than saying or just take a break. Just pause. Most likely, if you're nervous, you're talking really, really fast. And rather than saying or just take a breath. Taking a breath will not only help you emphasize your next point, but it'll also redraw the listener. And that's a very, very important key to fact to keep in mind. Okay, now number C or part C, tell a story and make it personal. Kind of mentioned that earlier, but the best way to connect to someone, right, is by telling them a story. Personalize your problem, personalize your product and your solution. If I was to tell you, oh, we create human optimization gear, what does that mean? Can you tell me what that means? Now, if I told you, hey, you know that construction workers who are working hours a day, who's an essential worker, who our economy and society wouldn't work without, or those first responders, those firefighters, we're trying to treat them like heroes and we're making an Iron Man suit for them. Automatically, you understood all the references, you sympathize with the audience, right? And that made it a lot more personal for you. That sympathy, that empathy, you want them to be like, oh shit, I feel so bad. You want them to have that moment and kind of like tug on those heartstrings, right? And lastly, if you don't have the time, don't spend too long introducing the problem. When I heard a lot of you guys pitch, you guys went on and on and on about the issue, right? Which is great if you had like a 20-minute pitch. Now, you should be able to tell your issue. You should practice to be able to tell your issue in under 10 seconds. That's it. Heat injuries and overexertion. That is my issue. You should be able to simplify it to its basis and then add more things later, depending on how much time you have. The issue that I've seen amongst a lot of you is that you will go on and on about what the issue is like, and you will ramble. And a lot of times you're being very, very repetitive with your pitches. Keep it short, keep it simple. If it's an important enough idea, you can bring it up later if you have time. But your first take should be very simple, to the point, and clean cut. All right, big numbers. A lot of you love to throw around numbers. Oh, this is a $100 billion company, or this is a $100 billion market, right? And we have X amount of cases every year, and this is how big the issue is, and this is how much money you'll be saving. Awesome. Numbers are a beautiful thing, right? I love numbers. I'm a STEM girl. I absolutely love it. I will eat up all the numbers you give me, but the numbers need to make sense, not only in chronological order and how you're presenting them, but visually they need to make sense. If you have a really amazing big number, throw it up in your screen full font, take up the whole screen, be like, this is the issue. Now, if you're like, hey, I have a lot of smaller numbers I want to explain together, that is also beautiful. But the best way to do that is by showing it in graph form. Use your visuals very, very carefully, right? Your slides should not have a lot of words in it. Best case scenario, you have photos, you have graphs, you have big ass font numbers, right? But keep it very simple and be very, very choosy on what numbers you want to use. If this isn't 10 times strengthening your case, don't bring it up. You will confuse people. And I like to keep it very clean, especially if you have a tech company, right? No more than 3 numbers. For your whole pitch, you get 3 numbers to bring up. And obviously I'm talking more about like shorter pitches. So we're looking at 3 to 4 minutes, which is most like pitch competitions you'll do, right? Do not bring up more than 3 numbers. And if that includes your price of your product, then that's included in your price of your product. So you get 1 big stat to bring up. You get 1 stat that you can bring up as a solution, market problem, whatever, how big your industry is. And you get 1 number to bring up on, how many people you're helping or what your product costs, et cetera, et cetera. But the more the numbers, the more you're just going to lose people. All right. It's going to go over everyone's head and people are just going to stop caring. And unfortunately, when it comes to pitches, once people stop listening, that's when, people start thinking about their next meeting. That's when they start thinking about, oh, I have to go talk to this person. I have to respond to this text. You cannot lose them, especially in a 3 to 4 minute pitch. You lose them even for 10 seconds, your pitch is over. And unfortunately, as someone who has both judged and talked to judges for pitch competitions, your first 15 seconds are make or break. Most judges can tell you if you're going to win a pitch competition in the first 15 seconds that you open your mouth. In fact, I've met some judges that the second you walk up in your first line that you say out of your mouth will tell them if you are going to win, and they're going to take you to the next round, or you're even going to be competing amongst like the top 3 or 4 other people, or they're just, unfortunately, not going to take you forward. And I know that sounds super shallow, but your intro is very important. How you start is very important. What numbers you choose to present are very important. And if you have the luxury of having a deck, making sure the deck looks very congruent, everything is laid out very clearly. It is literally make or break every single second. You lose interest once, it's game over. So like I mentioned the last slide, pictures are worth 8,000 words. If you can show me. Do not write it in words. Do not tell me. I would rather you be like, hey, this is how our furniture looks. It is very, fits into the background very nicely. It's bright colors. I want you to show me and then try to explain it, right? Do not be like, oh, our app is full of AI mechanisms, right? And our machine learning uses different versions of the code and different data points. And then it comes, I don't care. I do not care. What I want to see is, can you show me the app? If you are able to show me the app, show me the app. If you're able to show me the framework, show me the framework. If you're lucky enough to have a hardware product, which is a luxury in pitching, I cannot tell you how nice it is to be a hardware company if you're doing pitches. You automatically get brownie points from a lot of judges. If you can bring up a live demo of a hardware product, or if you're an app company, then actually bring it up on your phone and do those demos, you will get so many brownie points from judges. Aesthetic matters. Just like we said earlier with how you dress and how you look, your aesthetic for how you display your product really does matter. And again, pictures go a long way. I've met a lot of companies that have these very, very fancy decks, right? They spend so much time making these really over the top decks. But when it comes to their actual product photos, it is absolute garbage. They did not spend time on their UI, UX if they have a website or they have an app. Or if they have a product, their product is absolute utter shit. Not only does it not work, there's no like demo, there's no like proof of concept. It's all conceptual. And again, conceptual isn't bad. If you're going to do conceptual, you need to work on CAD. You need to have some demo prototype, something that someone can look at and be like, oh, this makes sense. This isn't crazy. Or this isn't some hypothetical thing that's not possible. I will say, as someone who has done a lot of hardware startups, like that's my specialty, automatically people will think that your product is not possible to make, right? If you are software, luckily you guys get a benefit of the doubt. A lot of people do think software is a lot more doable, a lot more possible, and they're more likely to trust a software idea. Now, if you're hardware, try to have some sort of demo available. Best case scenario, you're able to stop your deck, right? You can come off the screen and actually show your demo live. That's actually how we won our Techstar Startup Week competition. And that's how we got into Mass Challenge 2-3 weeks ago. We were able to have our presentation, right? Our slideshow. We're able to pause it, do a live demo of our hardware, and then go back to the presentation. And then also have the demo available for questionnaire, which is so very important because they're going to have questions. They're going to be like, oh, how does this work? Or what does this thing do? Being able to show that live or being able to pull it up on your phone, it's going to be so very helpful. And I do think that's something you should invest in. If you had to choose between making a really nice pitch deck or having a really nice demo, I would invest your time into making a really nice demo. All right, now how exactly do you have the product demo? Well, you can have something like this, which is just showing a laptop or a phone on the background and then having whatever video or application that you have in the front, right? That's a great way to do it. If you're a hardware, I don't like embedding videos. I'm not a huge fan of that because usually it does not work. And their tech difficulties exist at every level. Shoot, even I'm having tech difficulties right now, right? So if possible, have the demo with you, have it on a backup. Photos are great. I totally recommend photos. Please, please, please I do not want to see what your electrical configuration is. Okay, I do not want to see your wiring. Please do not show me your wiring. It will bore me. I understand you know how to do basic electrical engineering work, or you would not be here creating this product. Now, what I care about is to see the user experience. Now, the same thing goes for software. I care about the user experience. I do not want to see your code. I had once someone actually put their code up on the pitch deck, and I cannot tell you how annoying that was. Show me your video, show me photos of someone wearing your product if it's something that can be worn. So very important. Okay, last thing, psychological undertones. This is the last thing I'm going to cover. Whether you want to admit it or not, everyone has biases, right? This is something we covered earlier. And there's little things you can do subconsciously to make someone like you a little more. The first one's obviously pretty simple and straightforward, dress and impress. Now this goes a little forward, more deeper than just saying, oh, you know, look nice, comb your hair, blah, blah. No, that's not what I'm saying. If you are, let's say in a, I'm going to get slack for this, but it is true. And I have proven this out and I've had a lot of judges agree with me. Let's say if you are a woman who is trying to go for a traditionally masculine market, right? So you are a girl trying to go for the defense market or construction or something else like that. You are going to be taken a lot more seriously if you just dress a little more masculine, right? I'm not saying that, you know, you have to like buzz your hair or anything like that. Wear a button up over a dress. Even conscious change is going to have them take you more seriously. If you don't believe me, you can test it out yourself. And this goes a little further. How you comb your hair, the way you part, the type of makeup you wear. If you're wearing a suit, to wear a suit or not to wear a suit. It's actually proven if you're software, do not wear a suit. If you are a software company and you wear a suit, people will think you're trying too hard, right? You should be dressed more simply. Now, if you're going for med tech, right? If you're a med tech company, please, please, please wear a suit. I cannot tell you how important it is in med tech specifically to be dressed nicer, right? Versus if you're basic software, if you are a straight B2C company, you don't need that. Now, if you're going for the farmer market, right? You're targeting farmers. There's a certain type of way that you're going to have to dress to impress that. Understand who you're pitching to, right? Do they have any biases? How do they dress? What their views are? And I will not take any excuses of not knowing who your judges are. Most competitions release who their judges are ahead of time. And we are in the beautiful world of having access to LinkedIn. So there's no excuse not to just Google your judges or Google your audience members or even the institution that you're competing against, or even if you're doing it straight to a customer, right? You could be pitching to a customer. Google your customer, figure out who they are, what they dress like. For example, when I was doing a construction LOI interview, right? I mean, not interview, a LOI pitch. I decided to dress a little more masculine. I threw on a belt, fit right in, right? They were able to relate to me. I did not look like an outsider. Now, if I shown up in heels and a dress, I would look like an outsider trying to sell them something. That's not the aesthetic I wanted to go for. I wanted them to be able to be like, hey, I can trust her. She's one of us. It's more the tribe mentality more than anything else. Number 2, focus on your tone and pitch. Some places you want to sound super salesy. You want to bring out that peppy, high-pitched voice and be like, hey, I want to sell you something. Let's get started, right? But in other places, you're going to have to lower your pitch, lower your tone a little bit, talk a little softer or slower, put more emphasis on words, because the audience you're talking to needs to understand the gravity of your issue, right? So understanding when to talk and how to talk is so essential. And this will come with practice. I do not expect any of you guys to master this on your first go, but the emphasis you put on words, how you talk, even the octave that your voice is at will matter so much. Now, if any of you guys have ever heard me pitch or you have been around me, you will probably know that when I do certain pitches, like pitch competitions, I drop my voice a little bit. not only does this make me sound more confident, right? Naturally, it makes me sound more confident, but I have a tendency to talk very, very fast. Now, if I'm putting conscious thought into lowering my voice, I will talk slower. So you can understand me more. I'm easier to comprehend, and I'm easier to just, keep up with. Now, if I was talking my normal voice, it'd be super talking, and then slowly, you're not going to keep up. I sound super excited, and then my natural instincts, which is a little more ghetto, right? That's going to start coming out, which is great. Ghetto Tay is a lot of fun. She's great to party with, but she's not the one who should be on stage pitching, right? So I think it's very important to understand your audience, and that's why you're going to have different tones and pitches, and that's natural. Okay, number 3. Emphasis on certain words and phrases. Kind of went over this already. Important topics. Ooh, this is a great thing. Let's say I'm talking in a specifically monotone thing, since I bring a lot of information. Now, if I want you to really focus in and tone in into something super important that I'm saying, I would put in a lot more emphasis, right? The best way to do that is either slow down or to go super, super fast for just that little part. Both ways gets the same message across. Now, I may be a little too type A, but every single pitch that we have done for my current startup, and we have won every competition that we have done, every competition that we've applied for, is by literally going into the script, right? And I will underline every single part that needs to be a lower emphasis, right? So I need to slow down, put a deeper voice emphasis on, and then bold any part that would be higher pitch, right? So if I want to sound super excited for that part, that is going to be bolded. If I want to put a lot of emphasis on it, that's going to be underlined. Now, when you go through that pitch, you will, or that can be, like, you can highlight it, whatever works best for you. But practicing like that and having that ritual with your co-founder or yourself will help you kind of think of pitching not as like, ooh, this super exciting thing that's like, nerve-wracking and unknown and unpredictable. Oh, I don't know how I'm going to perform. Nope. Everything is planned out. Everything has been targeted, and you manipulated each word to make it sound to its optimized version. And I know none of that sounds super pretty. If anything, it sounds a little psychotic. But just like, I'm sure you guys have like read the book. I'm gonna butcher the name up, but like something ways to impress people or please people or win over people. There's some sort of book like this. Someone can write it in the group chat if you remember. But when you want to win someone over, you have to make sure that every single thing is calculated, because the judges are judging you on a specific criteria, right? So why would you not try to optimize your chances? All right, number 4, smile, 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 smile. So many of you guys look miserable when you guys are pitching. I saw you guys pitch. None of you guys had a smile on your face. I want you to smile. A smile goes such a long way. Innately, us as humans want to see other people happy. If you don't look so hyped up talking about your idea, why in the hell do I give a damn? Like, if you don't look happy, why would I be happy? Why the hell do you deserve that prize money, huh? Smiling goes such a long way. It shows that not only are you super passionate about your idea, but that you think you're capable of presenting it. Even if you screw up, smile through it, laugh through it. Also, put in humor. Now, I know jokes aren't everyone's specialty, but every pitch that I've seen win first place usually puts in some sort of joke. It can be a subtle joke. It can be a corny joke, as long as it's very clear that's a joke and you laugh at yourself. Humor goes a really, really long way. And lastly, don't skip a beat. If you screw up, keep going. If you are confused or you lost wherever you were on your script, keep going. If you're lucky, you're going to have a script available to you, or you're going to have a deck so you can, understand where you are at the point, but don't skip a beat. This is especially important if you're pitching with someone else. So let's say you have a co-founder or a CTO or a CFO or whatever, and both of you guys, or please do not have more than 2 people pitching. That is the max that, makes logical sense. Usually it should be 1 or 2. So let's say if you have 2 people pitching at the same time, do not have those long breaks in the middle. If I end my sentence, my partner should be ready. It should be like, and that is why we're targeting this market. Now, our main audience, see how there's like, oh, I wish I could bring my co-founder on this call, but when we pitch, there's a rhythm that you're following, right? And you want to make sure you follow that rhythm. Make sure that both of your amounts of how much you're pitching are very identical and similar. And there is very smooth transitions between you guys. The last thing you want is for someone to just be waiting on, like listening to silence to figure out who's pitching next or who's talking next. It should be so practiced and so polished that it literally sounds like a recording. That's actually like the way that my last pitch was described. Like, oh, I thought this was a recording. That's the ideal that you're going for. It needs to be polished. And after that, you can add things like ooh, whatever you want to make it sound a little more natural, right? Especially if it is a more longer pitch. You don't want it to sound robotic. So that's when you add a little more personality to it. You can pause. You can sound stupid for a few seconds so it doesn't sound like you practice every single moment of this. But you shouldn't skip a beat by accident. When you have a 2-minute or 3-minute pitch, there's no room to fuck up. And that's just the reality of it. You're not allowed many mistakes. And the more you practice, the better you'll get. But practice in front of people. I practice in front of the mirror, practice in front of people, but don't practice alone in your head. You need to learn how to say it out loud. You need to learn how to take the criticism. And if you screw up, trust me, there will always be another pitch. I didn't learn how to pitch perfectly for a really, really long time. With my last startup, I started at the age of like 17 pitching, and now I'm 22. And only now do I think I'm meh at it, right? Pitching, like any other muscle, takes time to grow. And if you stop pitching and if you stop like doing all this public speaking stuff, it will go away. So understand that it's okay to suck. Everybody sucks at one point, right? Even the most amazing salespeople will suck. I have brought people onto my startup and taught them how to pitch. And trust me, they were horrendous in the beginning. But very quickly, very, very quickly, if they kept on trying, they were able to pitch and they got us those trophies, they got us those prizes. So it is possible. And you are more than welcome to reach out to me if you guys need help. I can get on a call and help you guys in any way possible. I'm going to stop sharing. All right. Do you guys have any questions that I can answer? I know I've been rambling on for a while.
Okay. Oh, this is great. Yeah, thank you so much for sharing your experience with pitching. I think probably everyone have a lot of questions to ask. So how about if you have a question, just put your name in a chat, and then okay. I guess to start us off, I know in a bit that our outreach director is gonna host an elevator pitch practice session, and how about I think maybe talking a little bit more about the content of a short, maybe 1 minute elevator pitch would be pretty useful. So do you mind talking more about like the details or and the flow about elevator pitch?
Wait, did you ask me? Wait, did you ask me? Sorry.
Yeah. Johnny's question was, do you mind really quickly going over like the details of what's actually inside of a pitch deck?
Yeah, of course. So pitch deck is basically in essence 5 slides, right? Especially if you have a very short pitch. So let's say 2 to 3 minutes, which is most likely the most common type of pitch that happens. Keep it very, very short. The biggest mistake someone does is having these extremely long pitch decks that you will not have time to go through, and you're just going to make people confused the more slides you have. So first you have your introduction slide. This can be a stat, this can be a story, a person, whatever it is, right? Second slide that you're going to have is the problem. Now, for some people, this will also be part of slide 1, but this is where you actually go into the problem. What is the market? What is the issue? How expensive is this issue, right? So that's slide number 2, the problem. Number 3, your solution. How do you solve it, right? Slide number 4 is different for different companies. This can be a projection, margins, right? If you're more higher up, like where do you expect this to go, your growth, etc. Or it can be a timeline. And slide 5 will be your team. Now, these 5 slides can go in any order that you want. And for every startup, it will be very, very different. So it's very important to understand what is the best way to present for you guys. Is it better to have your team in the beginning? I played around with this with my own startup. We realized that right off the bat, since we're in the defense field, we're in this like very old money field, right? We need to show that, hey, we've worked with the Department of Defense. My team has worked with NASA. We have worked with all these like cool places. So we have our team slide way ahead. That is right after introduction. I literally started off with like, hey, my name is Tay. I'm the founder and CEO of Gallo Innovations. And we have a plethora of engineering and public experience who has worked with the Department of Defense, who have worked with NASA, and we are prepared to tackle this problem. And here is our solution. And then I make the transition of our first product that's called a Cortafan. And that's so we have our team slide before our solution, but it does depend on the startup itself. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, that's great. So actually, for the sake of time, we only have time for one question. But again, Tay is like one of our venture consultants. So if you have any more questions, just reach out to her. Vedant, you want to go?
Yeah. My question was like, I remember when we did the pitch, we had like when I was speaking to you, we had some problem about understanding what the solution was. So can you talk about how, like, can you elaborate a little more on how detailed you should go in explaining your solution, or some tips on explaining your solution?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, oh gosh, I hate when people say this. Oh, I'm the Uber of this, or like I'm the Uber of laundry, but it works, right? As much as cliche as it is and how everyone hates hearing it, it does work. So if you can compare your product to something that exists, that's one way to do it. I think that's the cheapest way to do it. It's not very creative. It doesn't take a lot of effort, but it is a methodology of doing it. A second way of explaining your tech is to break it down. What is it? Are you a battery? Yes, no, no. Okay, what are you a renewable energy source? Yes, no, yes. Okay, so that's part of your explanation. I am a renewable energy source that harnesses energy using this methodology, right? With the end goal of this. So you want to, in your solution, you're going to literally be like, my product targets blank issue using blank technology with the hopes of doing blank, right? You can just follow that format if you like. This way you are encapsulating the issue, how you plan to solve it, right? Using under 6 words. If you cannot explain your issue and your product in 6 words, your product is too complicated, or you're trying to target too much. In the beginning, when we did our thing, it was a exoskeleton platform that not only did musculoskeletal injuries, but also did heat stress, blah, blah. Realistically, that was so confusing for our judges. We're throwing around multiple words, Arachnidex, Cortafan, blah, blah. No one cares. I know this sounds super bad, but no one cares. They want to get to the direct point. So in under 6 words, what is your technology? And you can choose your 6 words carefully, right? But you only get 6 words. How would you go about explaining that?
Yeah, so I had initially said batteries which are low cost and quick charge. I think I'll just add my technology into that. So flywheel batteries which are quick to charge and low cost. Is that some what you mean?
So what's special about your batteries, right? That's the issue. Your aha factor isn't the fact that your batteries are low cost and cheap. Your aha factor is the way you are making those batteries, right? If I remember correctly. The technology you're using to harness power.
That
Your specialty or novelty is how it's either stored, the power, or how you harness it, correct?
it's how it's stored. Yeah.
Okay, now what is that phrase called? How are you storing it?
With the help of flywheels.
Okay, so that's what you're gonna say. You're gonna say, we create batteries that use this method to make them cheaper and faster. That's it. That's your whole thing.
Got it.
See
Thanks.
how you took, yeah, you know how originally when you first explained this idea to me, you had to go into so much background, right?
Yeah.
You spend like 2 or 3 minutes down to one line. Now,
I was
to
kind of all
explain
over the place.
Exactly. So what you want to do to even simplify that even faster, so you don't even have to explain to me what the technology is, throw up a photo. On that slide, throw up an exact photo of that NASA thing that you told me, right? With a bunch of arrows pointing different things like, hey, this is this. Ooh, even easier, have a blown up photo. That's it. That's all. Blown up photo. Say that one line. Your whole technology is explained. Quick, simple, and to the point.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah, of course. No, please, everyone, reach out. Like, if you guys need help, I literally, this is why they brought me on. It is to help you guys. So take advantage of it. I literally have time. I'm up 24/7, so I can get back to you at any time.
Thank you so much. Tay.
Socializing content.
Yeah. Yeah, Tay, that was such an awesome workshop. I was kind of blown away. Thank you so much for coming out.
Yeah, sorry for going over time. My apologies for that.
Nah, it's fine. I think it was worth it. Okay. Tina, do you guys want to take it away for the activity?
Sure. Do you have the link to the Gather Town activity? Okay. Yeah, he does. Go ahead and join that link, and you can hop off Zoom if you want, because there is microphone and video over there.
Yeah, so if you guys can make your way to Gather Town, then that'd be great. Yeah. Yeah, once you do, you're free to leave the Zoom call. Okay, is everyone that's supposed to be in the Gather Town in the Gather Town? Snehal, Shub. Ayush. I think I saw Ayush in the Gather Town, but
Snehal is, so Snehal, leave the Zoom call.
yeah. So I guess we're gonna, yeah, let's just leave then, Tina.
Okay.
All right, I'll see you guys at 10 then. I need to talk to people about tuition right now, so I'm not gonna be.
Okay.
All right.
Can everybody hear me?
Am I
Actually, wait,
supposed to sit for
you
this?
guys actually
I
got
still
the mic, right?
hear